Welcome to Talking Ball Reaction vid, maybe 7, 8, 9. I don't even know at this point. I'm starting to lose
Before we
count.
go any further, just a quick moment of silence for Dallas.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I meant to mention that. Rest in peace. He's actually not dead. He's caribou hunting in Alaska.
Yeah,
Oh,
I thought he was in
gosh.
Colorado.
Yeah, it might be Colorado, wherever
Same.
the caribou live.
But they're both islands.
But yeah, but I decided to sit in his seat tonight, make it a little bit less weird. But we are missing, a dear friend of ours.
Yeah.
Dallas Clayton Kirby III.
We'll let you know about arrangements and visitation.
Yeah, so we'll let you know for sure. But real quick, a message from our sponsor.
So we have Cam Smith here, and he has a special message for all the people that listen, and he wants to tell you about it. Go ahead, Cam.
Open enrollment for Medicare Advantage plans and Medicare supplements opens tomorrow, October the 15th, and runs to December the 7th. If you have any questions about your drug plans, anything like that, your Medicare Advantage, anything like that, feel free to call me at 864-804-3819. I will be at the Walgreens on Pine Street from now until December the 7th, every Monday and Tuesday. So if you get your drugs filled at Walgreens or anything like that, I will be there on Monday and Tuesday. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. I'll be glad to set an appointment with you and come out and talk to you about that.
Thank you.
Let's dive into the meat of the video. I say we go ahead and kick it off with the biggest upset of the week, that being Purdue, Iowa.
It seems like there's one every week.
It does.
At
This
this
week
point.
has been absolutely this year has been absolutely
doubt.
insane in college football. And I'll tell you what was most striking to me, we were kind of talking about this earlier, is that Iowa was due up to lose. The way they've been playing all
I think so,
year,
too.
they've been so dependent on their defense. Their offense has been worse than Clemson's at this point. Their offense has been terrible. And anytime your quarterback throws 4 interceptions and your offense is already terrible, you're asking for an upset.
I agree. And that's the thing is, I knew I was going to lose sooner or later, but I honestly didn't think it was going to be at home
To Purdue.
against a nobody.
Right, yeah.
Purdue, no matter how bad they are, they always
They seem to be able to hang with some of these bigger,
every
top
year.
tier teams.
It's that every year
Right.
they find a way to knock off somebody else, and that makes you have respect for that coaching staff.
I'll tell you what, shout out to their quarterback, because every quarterback that's played Iowa this year has struggled.
Struggled.
And they've turned the ball over like crazy. And their quarterback stat line is 30 for 40, 370 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's by far the best any quarterback has been able to play against Iowa. And it's not even close.
And I mentioned a week or two ago, it was whatever week Brother Tim was on the show, the game day episode, and so not last week, the week before, and I said that this Iowa team reminds me of Miami a few years ago.
Yeah.
When they had all those turnovers on defense.
Right.
And the chain got real popular.
Yep, I remember that.
And that's just a magical season. Well, fairy tales aren't real.
Right.
And it seemed like this was coming.
Oh, yeah,
And
absolutely.
It seemed like the magic was going to run out, the fairy dust was going to go dry, and this was going to happen. And Purdue was the team that made it happen.
Yeah. And I say let's go ahead and move on to your dogs, Georgia and Kentucky. I'll tell a little bit from my perspective. I didn't watch the game live. I did go back and watch some of the highlights. But I will say, at least from my perspective, again, not watching the game live, it really seemed that Kentucky was able to at least hang with y'all for a little bit. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, first half.
My dad even texted me because he was in Mexico this week, and he was like, "What's wrong with Georgia?" When it was like 14-7, and I was like, I guess Kentucky's playing some pretty good defense, because I wasn't watching at the time. But obviously, y'all ended up gaining complete control of that game and running away with it. But it looks as if I think it's Will Levis played a pretty good game, probably best anybody's played this year.
He played good. He didn't really do anything that was like wow.
Right.
He kind of just took what we gave.
He did enough.
Yeah,
to at
and
least
that's
kinda
what
keep
you
it
have
up.
to do against an elite defense. I will say this: apart from 3 drives the whole game, they were never moving on our defense. They kind of. It was more of like a bend but don't break type thing, where
Right.
we gave them, all right, we're going to give you 40 yards,
Yeah.
but then we're going to make you punt it.
Right.
And that's kind of what we did all night. I think it may have been one of their first drives they went and scored.
Yeah.
I think it was their first drive. I forget. But I was watching it with my uncle and my cousins, and
Right.
and I told him, I said, that first drive by an offense on your defense is always going to be the hardest on your
Oh, yeah.
defense. It's just they've scripted that.
Yeah.
They practiced those 8 or 9 plays.
You got to settle
all
in
week.
as a defense as
Right.
well.
Exactly. You got to see how they're going to come at you. And it seemed like we adjusted well, and we kind of we like to, if Georgia's running a Kirby Smart's defense, we want to man them in our corners, unleash our linebackers,
Right.
and let them pin their ears back. Well, that's what we were doing early on, and we moved to more of a zone. And even the announcers kept saying, like, this isn't Georgia,
Right.
but it's what they have to do right now. And that worked, and it kind of shut down what they were doing. And they were doing a lot of screens and a lot of good stuff, and that's kind of what you have to do against us. And I don't really remember them hitting on a deep ball all night. But like I said, just taking what we gave them, and they were successful. I want to shout out their defense. Now, granted, we don't have our starting quarterback.
Right.
Now, Georgia really won this game 30-7, but it was 14-7 at halftime. And for the first time since week 1, a team has hung with Georgia for a half.
I was about to say the score. I mean, 30-13 is not close, but the score even wasn't really even that close.
Right.
Obviously, they scored in garbage time. And we'll move on to Clemson and Syracuse. Obviously, a trap game. We know what happened. I believe it's now 4 or 5 years ago when we played them Friday night up there in Syracuse. We ended up losing that game. But I will say in the first half, it was the most hopeful I've been all season.
Right.
The first half, our offense looked decent. It didn't look good, but it looked the best. It looked like it actually had a pulse. DJ was playing good football. In the second half, it's like we went right back to the same old Clemson offense that we were. We couldn't move the ball consistently, but still, I will say that it did seem, at least the last 2 weeks, that our offense has made somewhat of a stride. We're still struggling. Again, we're still bad on offense, but I feel like we're moving the ball a little bit more, which is a good thing. But again, we're depending on our defense to bail us out.
Well, I sat there at Wild Wings, pretty much watched the almost entirety of the second half. Going on the road, I pulled up on ESPN the first half and just kind of listened to it and glanced at it every now and then. But I tell everybody that. But I thought that this game was a feather in the hat if you're Clemson.
Oh, no, absolutely.
I really did. I know you're fans, and as you, I mean, you'd like to win. Most years, if you play Syracuse and win by 3, it's a disappointment.
Right.
But this year, that's a feather in the hat if you're Clemson. And I know Tony Elliott said, "Oh, DJ played his best game," and kind of got hated on. But I got news for you: DJ played his best game.
Without a doubt.
That doesn't mean that he played great.
Yeah.
But he didn't have to play very good to play his best game, as bad as he's been.
You're exactly right.
He truly played his best game. I thought the run game looked well, missing your starting running back and missing some pieces on the O-line. And the biggest thing that's impressive to me is the Clemson's defense continues to impress without half their team.
Without half our starters.
And you're out of Tyler Davis and Brazee. I know those two.
We didn't have Andrew Booth Friday night either. He was a scratch because of his hamstring. I mean, Skowski's still playing banged up. I mean, we're a little bit of a mangled defense right now. And still Landon Zanders from the first game of the season. We're losing some main guys. But this week, not to preview too far into the future, which I guess it's this weekend, it's going to be tough against Pittsburgh.
It is.
Because Kenny Pickett is going to be able to put up points.
It is.
Period.
But I don't think they score more than 24-30.
I agree. But the thing is, I don't believe that our offense will be. Which they said there's a chance Will Shipley could be back. But even if he's back this week, I still don't think he's going to be like a full-on 100%. I don't think he gets many reps.
It's one of those things in a down year where you're not in national title contention. I personally wouldn't rush him back.
Right. No, I wouldn't either. Absolutely not.
But like I say, I think this was absolutely, if you're Clemson, you pat yourself on the back. You went in there and won. And that's the bottom line. Like I say, you want it to be prettier, but you want to continue to get better each week. Obviously, the playoffs are out of question. National title hopes are out of question. But you can still have a good enough season to do something to spring you in next year.
Absolutely. And to kind of quote CeCe, one of our South Carolina friends, and they probably should have lost to Vanderbilt, he was like, I don't even care anymore. Like, as long as we win, I don't care how ugly it is. That's how I'm as a Clemson fan. Like you said earlier, normally if we would have won by 3 points against Syracuse, we're disappointed. At this point, if we win, I'm happy and I'm pleased. So I say let's move on to Alabama and Mississippi State. Or let's do Oklahoma. Let's talk about Caleb Williams a little bit.
Well, so
you were how about you were dead on with the predictions? As far as I know, I don't think Spencer Rattler came in at all.
I don't think he did. That was Caleb Williams' team. And the reason I didn't think he did is because he wasn't even at practice Monday.
Right.
And that told me,
I'd heard that,
when you're a student athlete, it's not I'm a call in today type of thing. You don't work a 9 to 5. If you're the quarterback and you didn't show up to practice, you're probably not going to see the field. And which I guess we did the game day video Thursday. So I was about to say, how did I know he didn't?
Right,
Sunday. I threw myself off there a little bit, but no, I want to say this: this Oklahoma team now is not the Oklahoma team of Week 1.
I agree,
2, 3,
absolutely.
4, 5, and 6. This Oklahoma team, I'll go ahead and say, is the second best team in the nation.
I can agree with that. I really can. I'll tell you what, Caleb Williams is a stud. He really is. I'll tell you what, Lincoln Riley is by far making the right decision. And a lot of times it's a bit difficult because you got to think, I don't know how much true depth they have after Caleb
Right.
Williams. And if Spencer Rattler decides to go ahead and enter the transfer portal, I think that's one of the reasons he hadn't moved on from Spencer Rattler already.
Mm-hmm.
He's thinking if we could just win with Spencer, because then they have quarterback depth.
Right.
And now start Caleb Williams. If Spencer Rattler decides to dip, I don't know how much quarterback depth they have in that position, but we've seen as soon as Caleb Williams got implemented in the start lineup against Texas, how
Right.
this offense has been like the Oklahoma offense of old.
There's just an energy to it.
Absolutely there is. And he just makes plays. You know,
What did TCU score?
31 points.
So Oklahoma figures out their offense and forgets how to play defense.
I know. Their defense has been decent this year, and then their quarterback, TCU's quarterback, 20 for 30, 346 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions.
So finally we see the Oklahoma ball. How about Oklahoma State? Proving me completely wrong.
And how about Texas blowing back-to-back games? They probably should have won that game as well.
Texas is
Oklahoma's still
how?
State's undefeated, right? Oklahoma State.
Yeah,
they are.
They're. I mean,
They're squeaking by everybody. Dude.
They have,
Yeah.
but I want to say.
No, hats off to them.
I was impressed last week.
No, 100%.
But the thing is, if you're Texas, how do you keep letting this happen?
I mean, you're Texas. You're winning
2 weeks in a row.
24-16. You're winning going in the fourth quarter. And you give up 16 unanswered points to Oklahoma State.
That's something you can't do.
No, absolutely not. And I mean, think about being Steve Sarkisian. You could have had major back-to-back wins.
Yep.
Against Oklahoma and Oklahoma State.
They
2 top 10 wins.
They would be what, a one-loss team?
Yeah, they would be in playoff contention.
Yeah,
like,
I was about to
legitimately
say if they had those 2 wins, they're a playoff top
And
team.
I mean, and it's still Steve Sarkisian's first year, and you've seen some nice things from Texas.
Right.
But it seems like the Texas with Tom Herman was kind of that same way. And they'd play Oklahoma great, they'd play the top teams great, but they end up blowing it in, and it seems like that's kind of ringing true for Steve Sarkisian as well.
I will say, and I'm not trying to hate on Sarkisian. I think he can be the man for the job.
He's definitely a great offensive
I'm
mind.
not saying
There's no doubt about
he
that.
is. They got to figure something out.
They
can't
do.
let that happen.
You can't keep blowing big games. And
No,
I mean,
Yep.
it's almost like it's a part of their culture, their identity. I mean, the coaching staff, last coaching staff, now is kind of carrying on to Sarkisian.
Something Texas does. And you mentioned Bama. How about Bama responding?
Oh, yeah.
The way Bama
Huge.
does.
And Mississippi State, I mean, with Mike Leach's air raid offense, they can put up some points. They only put up 9 points.
They can. I was impressed by the defense. Now Mississippi State don't have the players that they had last year.
Right, no, absolutely don't.
And they're not really that good. But they're not absolute trash.
No, they're not.
But Bama responded well. It's really easy to kind of roll over after a week like last week where you get beat by an unranked team.
Yeah.
But hats off to Bama for coming out there and doing what they had to do.
And I'd say we'll cover this game kind of in closing, that being Florida and LSU. And I'll tell you what, I picked Emory Jones to be my breakout player of the week, and I was definitely off on that. He ends up playing not great, gets injured, and then Anthony Richardson comes in. And how about LSU, the whole situation that's going on with that? Well, we might, comment down below if you're watching this video and you want us to maybe dive into that whole Ed Orgeron situation. But that is a funky situation because to fire him after a win, you know that they had to be discussing that prior to that Florida game.
No doubt.
Had to be.
It was kind of a thing where I guess he was already gone.
Right.
But, what does it help to do that midseason?
And my biggest thing is like,
which I know he's still there.
right, that's what confuses me. Like,
it don't make sense.
Like, what if where you were?
What if let's just say that Ed Orgeron wins out.
Yeah.
What are they?
That's what I'm saying. Like, what if they go on a run? And I read one tweet that somebody, I don't know how true it was, and I mean they had a blue check, so I mean they were verified. They had to be somebody, right? But they said something along the lines of basically the whole situation is his players don't want to play for him anymore. The coaches don't want to coach for him anymore. Then
I would say it's almost obvious.
Oh no,
watching him play.
100%. Then my thing is, why is he still going to be the fired head coach for the rest? Why don't just get an interim coach and start looking for candidates instead of letting him still be the head man? Why he's fired? That's just, I've never heard of something like that, at least in college football.
No, that's weird. It's really weird. I don't understand why they would announce that.
Yeah, and obviously if you're wanting to get rid of him, I wouldn't want him coaching no more. And if I was Ed Orgeron and I'm getting fired, I wouldn't want to be coaching anymore for them.
The LSU,
they're handling this very
That's
weird.
embarrassing to me.
And I mean, still props to them for going and beating Florida. I mean,
right.
They played
and
well.
like I said, I picked Florida because Florida I thought was better.
Right.
But Dan Mullen's going to do what he does.
Right.
And he's going to lose games. He shouldn't. And until he's gone, that's going to continue to happen. So # support Dan Mullen.
Yeah.
But no matter how bad LSU is, it seems like they've got Florida's numbers.
And I'll tell you one thing with Florida, kind of like you said, it just seems, I mean, kind of like we predicted, we kind of got ragged on by Florida fans early in the season or preseason, but it's what we kind of predicted about how Florida's season would go is kind of becoming true because I think they're 4-3 now.
Yep.
And they're going to lose to Georgia. I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, and I know they probably have another week unless they have a bye week in between
They
them.
lost to Kentucky, Bama, and now LSU.
Yeah, and they're going to lose to Georgia. So there's another fourth loss.
Well, that's the thing is, okay, so not only are you 4-3, potential to have a atrocious record in the
Yeah.
year. You're going to have another loss,
Right.
and let's just say you finish 7-5. I think I predicted 8-4.
Right.
7-5. That's pitiful.
Right.
I mean, that's absolutely pitiful.
Especially with the talent you got. And, I mean, the only maybe silver lining you can look at as a Florida fan is maybe now Anthony Richardson will kind of take over. I think Anthony Richardson definitely has a higher ceiling than Emory Jones.
He does, especially as a true passer. But just real quick, Ole Miss, Tennessee.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
That was a crazy game.
as we kind of said, the Ole Miss offense was just a little bit too much
Right.
for Tennessee.
It was really a lower scoring game than I kind of expected, to be honest with you.
I said it could get to point total of 100.
Honestly,
45 to 45, 50 to 50
I mean,
something.
I don't know what I put in our picks, but I probably was like 50-something to 40-something.
Yeah.
I expected it to be crazy high scoring.
I thought that I did really think the total points on like a reality. Thought it could go over 60 or 70.
Yeah,
Which I guess it touched on 55
right.
or
yeah.
maybe close to 60, but I thought it could get into 75.
Freaking Matt
70.
Corral was pretty much a running back in that game. He had almost 200 yards rushing, like
Yeah.
20 attempts. I mean, they were giving him the ball.
I will say I think Tennessee might have figured out their head coaching situation.
I think Josh Heupel's the right man for the job. I really do.
I think he is too.
And I mean, he's made good decisions through the transfer portal. You know, you can see Tennessee's they're playing well, they're playing hard. So I do think, you know, it's not the Jeremy Pruitt handing out cash and McDonald's bag. So I
Right.
think they might have the head man figured out there.
No doubt. But so just a quick reaction to week one, or not week one. I think I do that every
Yeah,
week.
you probably do.
But week 7 now?
Whatever we get. I
Man,
think
this
it's week
year's
7. Week
flying
7,
by.
week 8 it is.
It absolutely flies by. But just a quick reaction. Let us know your thoughts. If we missed something you want us to touch on, let us know and talk to us about it.
And rest in peace to Dallas Kirby.
Yeah, rip.
Yeah.
But if you're still watching,
Hope he kills that caribou.
comment Thompson.
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 I like how you spelled it out for us.
I'm looking at my Thompson chain reference
There we go.
Bible. But
Thanks
so,
for watching.
thanks for
Subscribe,
watching.
comment, like, share with everybody. We love y'all. Shout out to everything.